Before the electric switch, the arrival of night was a manual process, a duty performed by solitary figures. Tonight we walk with them. We trade the day's anxieties for the steady rhythm of the cobblestone, the smell of gas, and the simple, profound task of bringing light to the gathering darkness. Settle in, and let the quiet repetition begin. The city is a machine and the day is its fuel. But as the sun bleeds its last light, staining the high clouds with a final indifferent wash of iron gray and diluted orange, the great machine begins to slow. The frantic clatter of 1,000 iron-shod wagon wheels on stone begins to thin. The calls of the street vendors, the high-pitched cries of the delivery boys, the deep resonant clang of the factories, they all begin to fade, one by one, into the rising smoky dampness of the evening. This is the in-between time, the gloaming, as it is called, a time of transition, a pause. And in this pause, in a small windowless brick room, tucked away in an alley so narrow it is more a crack in the city's facade, another kind of work begins. The room is a depot, but it is hardly grand. It is a single cold space, smelling of damp brick, coal dust, and the ever-present faintly sweet metallic odor of the city's gas. A single bare gas jet sputters from a pipe on the wall, its fishtail flame casting more shadow than light. It hisses, a quiet, constant shh, the only sound besides the distant, muffled rumble of the world outside. This is the domain of Arthur Pendleton, and it is here that his nightly ritual commences. The clock on the soot-stained church tower 2 streets over tolls the hour. The low bronze dong vibrates through the air, felt more than heard in this small subterranean feeling room. It is the signal. Arthur turns from the heavy wooden door which he has just pulled shut, the old iron lock clicking into place with a definitive heavy thunk. He stands for a moment, letting his eyes adjust, though he knows this room by heart, by feel. His arrival is a shedding. He is for these few minutes still Arthur, the man who spent the afternoon reading a worn newspaper, tending a small, struggling pot of geraniums on his windowsill. He unbuttons his thin day coat, the one of respectable but threadbare brown tweed. He folds it, a habit of care, and places it on a small 3-legged stool, the room's only furniture, save for the row of tall, narrow lockers against the far wall. He walks to the lockers. His footsteps, in his civilian boots, are a soft scuff on the gritty stone floor. He stops at the 3rd locker from the end. It is his. The paint, once black, has flaked away to reveal patches of rust and bare gray metal. The small brass number 8 is greened with verdigris. He pulls a key, a small simple iron key, from his waistcoat pocket and inserts it into the lock. The click is small, sharp, and familiar. The hinge groans. It is a sound he has heard every working night for 17 years. It is a sound he expects, a sound that, were it absent, would feel profoundly wrong. The inside of the locker smells of wool, leather oil, and the faint persistent scent of his own dried sweat. This is the first part of the kit. This is the uniform. He does not rush. The ledger and the route it dictates is built on methodical precision, and that precision begins here. First, the boots. He sits on the small stool, unlaces his day boots, and sets them carefully under the bench. Then he reaches into the dark recesses of the locker and pulls out the work boots. They are heavy. The leather is thick, black, and stiff, not from newness, but from a constant cycle of being soaked by rain and snow and then dried, quickly, by his small stove at home. They are impregnated with tallow and grease to repel the water, and they smell of it. He pulls one on. It is cold from the damp air in the locker. He guides his foot into the familiar shape, his toes finding the worn hollows. He pulls the thick, leather laces not with a quick, sharp tug, but with a slow, firm, methodical pull, crisscrossing them through the iron eyelets. The sound is a series of small grunts from the leather. He repeats the process. When he stands, his connection to the ground feels different. He is no longer walking on leather. He is walking on thick slabs of compressed hide and wood, hobnailed for traction on the slick, greasy cobblestones. His first clack on the stone floor is a definitive, solid sound. He is now taller and more firmly rooted. Next are the trousers. They are not trousers so much as a second outer skin. Made of a heavy, dark blue serge wool, they are almost board stiff. He pulls them on over his own, the button fly a slow, deliberate process. Each thick brass button, stamped with the insignia of the City Gaslight and Coke Company, must be worked through a stiff, wool-bound hole. It is a process that demands his full attention, finger and thumb, pushing and pulling. Then the tunic, of the same heavy wool which goes on over his shirt. More buttons, a line of them marching from his waist to his collar. Each one is a small, cold disc against his fingertips. He fastens them all, right up to the top. He is, now encased in wool, a protective if scratchy layer against the coming cold. Finally, the greatcoat. This is the true uniform, the mantle of his office. It hangs from a thick wooden peg at the back of the locker. He pulls it out, and the weight is immediate. This is not a garment. It is a burden. A heavy, dark, oil-treated, canvas or wool, with a deep doubled cape over the shoulders designed to sluice the inevitable rain and sleet. The collar is high and lined with rough faded velvet. He swings it around his shoulders, settling the familiar weight. It pulls down, a comforting gravitational hug. He fastens the large leather-wrapped buttons, his hands disappearing into the deep wool-lined pockets. He is no longer Arthur, the man with the geraniums. He is now Lamplighter number 8. He turns from the locker, his movements already slower, more deliberate, weighed down by his new protective shell. He moves to the workbench that runs along the opposite wall. Here, under the hissing gaslight, rests the second half of the kit. The tools, his primary tool, his wand, rests in a simple wooden rack. It is the pole. It is a long, smooth staff of ash, perhaps 10, perhaps 12 feet long. His hands, gloved, now in thick fingerless wool mitts, find the familiar spots worn smooth by his own palm. The wood is cool, responsive. It is light, remarkably so for its size, but perfectly balanced. He lifts it down and inspects the head. This is the business end. Most of the lamps on his route are modern, fueled by gas. So the pole is tipped with a brass mechanism. It is a simple thing, elegant in its function. A small hook-like arm designed to catch the pull, the small lever under the lamp that opens the gas valve, and just above it, a small protected cage. Inside this cage is the pilot. He retrieves a small brass tin from the workbench. It is his naphtha can. He unscrews the cap and the sharp chemical smell cuts through the damp air. He carefully, with a jeweler's steadiness, fills the small reservoir for the pilot flame. He checks the wick, trimming it with a tiny pair of shears from his tool pouch. He opens a small tin box. Inside, protected from the damp, are his matches. He strikes one. The scratch is loud in the small room, the flare of sulfur and phosphorus a sudden, bright yellow star. He touches it to the wick. A small, clean, blue-white flame comes to life, fluttering inside its brass cage. It is ready, but not all lamps on his route are gas. There are still a few in the older forgotten alleys that run on oil. For these, he has a different pole, a torch head, which is essentially a long covered wick. He checks it. It is dry. It will not be needed tonight unless his pilot fails. Next, his belt pouch. He lifts it. It is heavy, leather, and worn to a soft, pliable state. He fasts it around his waist over the greatcoat. He checks the contents by feel. The soft, lint-free, cloths for polishing the inside of a lamp's glass. Should a moth or soot obscure the light. A rougher burlap-like rag for wiping grime and fog from the outside. A small tin box of spare wicks. A coil of fine brass wire for clearing a stubborn gas jet. He is almost ready. The last item is on the workbench, lying apart from the tools. It is the ledger. It is not a grand leather-bound volume. It is a simple, functional book, its cover made of thick, pressed card, warped by the damp. Its spine is cracked, reinforced with a strip of black tape. He picks it up. He opens it. The pages are thick, almost like card. The edges are grayed with the grime of his own thumb. On the left-hand page, a list of street names, meticulously lettered in black ink. High Street, Market Alley, Church Row, Kingsmews. On the right-hand page, a corresponding grid of small, empty boxes. This is his map. This is his mandate. This is his entire night, laid out in ink. His route is a circuit, a precise and unchanging line drawn through the city's arteries and veins. His job is not to think, not to wander. His job is to walk and to fill the boxes. A lit lamp, a pencil check in the box. A broken lamp, a small X to be reported in the morning. He slides the ledger into a deep, waterproofed inner pocket of his greatcoat, the one directly over his heart. He is prepared. He stands for a final moment in the center of the small room. He can feel the weight of the boots on his feet, the binding of the wool uniform, the heavy, secure embrace of the greatcoat. He feels the pull of the tool pouch on his waist. He balances the long, light pole in his gloved hand. He is a complete system. He is an instrument of the evening. With his free hand, he reaches up to the gas jet on the wall. He turns the small brass key. The hissing stops. The flame sputters, shrinks to a blue dot, and vanishes, plunging the room into an immediate, profound darkness. For a second, there is nothing. Only the smell of the extinguished gas, the muffled sounds of the city, and the feel of the pole in his hand. He moves to the door, his hobnailed boots striking the stone. Clack, clack. He pulls the heavy door open. A rectangle of deep bruised violet light appears. Arthur Pendleton, now fully encased in his uniform, steps from the absolute darkness of the depot into the deep, bruised blue of the gloaming. The alley is a canyon of brick, and his first breath of the city air is sharp. It is a complex layered scent, coal smoke from 1,000 chimneys, the damp, mineral smell of the nearby river, the faint, lingering odor of horses, and the metallic tang of the gasworks behind him. His hobnailed boots make a definitive, solid clack on the alley's uneven cobblestones. The sound is sharp, an announcement. He is on his route. He holds the long ash pole in his right hand. It is balanced. The small caged pilot flame at its tip burning with a steady blue-white intensity. It is the only light he carries, a single moving point of warmth in the cooling air. He does not need to consult the ledger. Not yet. The first page, the first movement of his nightly symphony is written in his muscles. It is a map he has walked into his own memory. From the depot, he turns left. He always turns left. The route has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it never deviates. To deviate would be to break the unwritten sacred contract. It would be like a clock deciding to spin backward. The alley, Market Alley, is not his starting point. It is merely the passage to his starting point. The 4 simple iron bracket lamps that line this alley, rusting against the brick, are not his first concern. The ledger's path is not just a route, it is a hierarchy. And the hierarchy dictates that the arteries of the city must be lit before the veins. The back alleys, the service lanes, these are the last. They must wait their turn, so he walks. His footsteps echo, clack, 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 a steady metronomic beat. The alley is perhaps 50 yards long. He passes the back doors of a bakery, the air still faintly warm and smelling of old yeast. He passes the closed, barred gate of a small tannery, the air thick with the phantom smell of chemicals and hide. He is not in the city yet. He is in its hidden passages, its engine rooms. Then the alley opens and he steps out onto High Street. The change is immediate, a shift in every sense. The sound, the light, the very air is different. High Street is the city's grand drawing room. It is wide, paved not with rough cobblestones but with smoother, more precisely cut granite sets. The muffled sounds of the alley are replaced by a broader, more open soundscape. The distant, rhythmic clip-clop of a hansom cab, its lights 2 yellow eyes in the distance. The sound of a shopkeeper pulling a heavy iron grate across his storefront. The murmur of voices from the few remaining pedestrians, their forms dark and indistinct. And the light. It is not yet dark. The sky is a deep, luminous cobalt, and the shop windows are still glowing. They are worlds unto themselves, miniature stages of golden light displaying cakes, fine hats, bolts of silk, and polished brass instruments. But this light is private. It is commercial. It will soon be extinguished. Arthur's light, the light he is here to bring, is public. It is municipal. It is for everyone and for no one. He turns right. This is the true beginning. Lamp number 1, High Street. He knows its location by the subtle dip in the paving stones his boot registers just before he arrives. It stands at the corner, a proud, tall column of cast iron. This is not the simple bracket of the alley. This is a work of civic pride. It is fluted like a Greek column, and at its base, the city's crest, a lion and a unicorn, is cast in the heavy iron. It is a symbol of order, of progress, of the city's triumph over the primitive. Chaotic night, he stops. He plants his feet. He does not hurry. The ledger's path is not a race. It is a ritual. He has lit this lamp over 6,000 times. He does not think about the action. His body simply performs it. He shifts the pole, the base of it braced on the ground. He raises the far end. The pole is light, but the act requires a specific practiced balance, a kind of leverage. The caged flame rises, a small floating star ascending past the fluted iron, up until it is level with the glass lantern. He guides the brass hook at the end of the pole. He is aiming for a small iron pull tab, a lever just visible beneath the lamp housing. He does not grope for it. His arm knows the exact height, the exact angle. He makes contact. A small metallic snick is heard, a sound that barely registers above the street. He pulls down, a firm, steady tug. There is a hiss, a sound of release. This is the gas, the city's invisible breath rushing into the mantle. His pilot light, still caged, touches the gas, and the lamp is born. It is not an explosion. It is a soft, sudden whoomp, a blossom of pale, greenish-white fire. The light is sudden, bright, and cold. It casts a sharp, defined circle of illumination on the granite sets below. It paints Arthur's face in a stark, theatrical light, carving new shadows under his brows and cheekbones. He holds the pole there for a second, ensuring the flame is steady, that the mantle has caught properly. It has. The light is good. He lowers the pole hand over hand until it rests vertically by his side again. He takes 1, 2, 3 steps. He stops. He reaches inside his greatcoat into the deep waterproof pocket. His gloved fingers find the small, stiff ledger. He pulls it out, along with a small stump of pencil, tied to a buttonhole with a piece of string. He opens the ledger to the first page. High Street. He finds the first box in the grid. Lamp number 1. He makes a simple, definitive check mark. The task is complete. The ritual is affirmed. The ledger has recorded the fact. He puts the book away. The entire process has taken perhaps 45 seconds, and now the rhythm begins. The ledger dictates a hierarchy of movement. He does not cross the street. That would be inefficient. The ledger is a document of profound efficiency. He will light all 24 lamps on the north side of High Street from east to west. Then and only then will he cross at the far end and light the 24 lamps on the south side, from west to east, returning him to his starting point. He walks. His pace is steady. He knows the distance. It is 22 paces between each lamp. He walks. 1, 2, 3, his boots setting the cadence. Clack, clack, clack. He passes the glowing windows of the apothecary, the rows of blue and red glass jars within. He does not look. His gaze is fixed on the pavement, and then as he approaches up to the dark waiting silhouette of lamp number 2, 20, 21, 22. He stops, he plants his feet. He raises the pole. The small caged flame ascends. Snick, hiss, whoomph. A new circle of light is born. He lowers the pole. He does not need to check the ledger this time. He will check the ledger when he reaches the end of the street. The list is in his head. This is the A list. High Street. The street of fine shops, banks, and the Grand Hotel. It must be lit first, and it must be lit completely. The hierarchy is clear. Commerce and prestige are the city's priority. The gaslight here is not just for safety. It is for reassurance. It tells the wealthy citizens that the world is orderly, that the darkness is being held at bay, that their world is stable. He continues. 1, 2, 3. The rhythm is lulling. His world shrinks to the 22 paces. The pole, the lamp, the sound of the gas, the bloom of the light. He is a walking human clockwork, a mechanism for turning gas into order. After 40 minutes, High Street is a river of light, its twin banks of gas flame glowing, casting long, spider-like shadows behind every pedestrian, every carriage. He arrives back at his starting corner, having completed the full circuit. He pulls out the ledger. He methodically draws a check mark in the remaining 47 boxes for High Street. A deep horizontal line drawn under the last entry signifies the street is complete. Page 1 is finished. Now the hierarchy dictates he moves to the B list. He turns off the grand bright artery and into Church Row. The change is once again immediate. The street is narrower. The sound of his footsteps is louder, echoing between the tall, flat-fronted houses. These are residential streets, the homes of doctors, lawyers, and well-to-do merchants. There are no shop windows here. The only light comes from the squares of yellow curtained windows, the light of private domestic life. The air is quieter. The hierarchy dictates that these streets are important, but less important than commerce. They are lit second. The lamps here are different. They are slightly less ornate. The city crest is there, but the fluting is simpler. The ledger's list for this street is shorter. Church Row, 14 lamps. The process is the same. The rhythm, clack, clack, clack. The paces, the stop, the lift, the snick, the hiss, the woomph, the bloom of light. He moves down the street, a solitary figure passing from one pool of new light to the next. He is a sower, and his seeds are flame. After Church Row, the ledger sends him deeper into the C list. He turns into King's Mews. This is the back world. This is the service lane that runs behind the grand houses of High Street. The ground here is not granite. It is rough, uneven, muddy cobblestone. The air smells of hay, horses, and damp straw. The hierarchy is clear. This is the world of servants, of grooms, of deliveries. The lamps here are not pillars. They are simple black iron brackets bolted to the brick walls 8 feet off the ground. They are functional, ugly, and often clogged with soot. But the ledger does not judge. It only lists. King's Mews, 4 lamps. His work here is just as meticulous. He lifts the pole, his movements just as precise. Snick, hiss, whoomp the cold. White gaslight floods the mews, revealing a sleeping carriage, a pile of hay bales, a stray cat that darts into the shadows. This is the ledger's path. The ledger's path is not merely a line on a map. It is a score, a piece of music to be performed. And Arthur Pendleton is the performer. His instrument is his own body and the long ash pole. The music is the steady metronomic clack, clack, clack of his hobnailed boots on the stone. He has left the residential quiet of Church Row and now enters a different part of the city. This is Cooper's End, a long curving street of workshops and small soot-stained tenements. The hierarchy of the ledger has brought him here to a place of work, and his own work continues. The lamps here are starkly functional. The proud fluted columns of High Street are a distant memory. Here the lamps are simple. Unadorned cast iron poles, painted black. The paint peeling in long strips to reveal a skin of rust underneath. They are tools, not ornaments. And Arthur is a tool, not an ornament. His body is settled into the rhythm. The first hour of the route is always a process of shedding the day, of the uniform and the tools becoming a part of him. Now an hour in, he is no longer a man wearing a heavy coat. The coat is simply his outer layer. He is no longer carrying a pole. The pole is simply his longer, lighter arm. This is the cadence. He lights a lamp at the corner of the street. Snick, hiss, whoomph. The pale gaslight flares, illuminating the brass sign of a pewtersmith long since closed for the night. He lowers his pole. He does not check the ledger. He does not need to. He knows this street. He will mark the ledger when the entire street, all 32 lamps, is complete. He turns. He begins the walk. His world now is not the street. It is not the city. His world is the measured distance between the lamp he has just lit and the next dark silhouette, visible a short way down the street. His mind goes quiet. It is not empty. It is rather occupied by the task. It is counting 1, 2, 3, his left boot, his right boot. The clack of the hobnails on the uneven granite sets is his metronome. The sound is absorbed by the damp, cold air. 4, 5, 6. He feels the weight of the pole, held vertically, its base cradled in his right palm, his left hand stabilizing it at shoulder height. It has become weightless with familiarity. 7, 8, 9, he breathes. The rhythm of his breath matches the rhythm of his steps. A slow, steady inhale for 3 paces. A slow, steady exhale for 3. The air he draws in is cold. The air he breathes out is a white, fleeting plume of fog in the new light of the lamp behind him. 10, 11, 12. He passes a narrow alley, a black, rectangular void. A smell of sour beer and boiled cabbage wafts from it. He does not turn his head. His focus is on the pavement ahead. 13, 14, 15, halfway there. The new light from the lamp he is approaching does not exist yet. The light from the lamp he has left is now distant, its circle of illumination fading. He walks through a pool of near-perfect darkness. His only guide is the tiny blue-white pilot flame, still burning steadily in its cage at the top of his pole. It is his North Star, 16, 17, 18. His shoulder, the right one, has a dull, familiar ache. It is the ache of 17 years of this precise, repeated motion. It is not a pain he wishes to be rid of. It is a confirmation that the work is being done, that the muscles are performing as they were trained. 19, 20, 21. He is approaching the spot. He can see the dark base of the lamppost. He begins to slow his steps, not by thinking, but by feeling. His boots know the geography. 22, 23. He stops. This is the first note of the liturgy. The stillness. He is precisely positioned. His left foot is beside the iron base. His right foot is slightly behind, braced. He is stopped in the exact same square of stone he stops on every night. He could find this spot in his sleep. In a way, he is in his sleep. The liturgy begins. He shifts his weight. The pole, held vertically, is the first object of his attention. He slides his left hand, the one in the fingerless wool glove, up the smooth ash wood, past the balance point. His right hand moves from the base to grip the pole about 2 feet up. He does not lift the pole. He climbs it. His gaze moves from the pavement to the top of the lamp, 20 feet above him. His body follows his gaze. He pushes. A smooth, practiced motion from his legs, his back, and his shoulders, all working in concert. The pole pivots. The end with the caged flame begins its ascent. This is the climb. The pole is 10 feet long, but the lamp is higher. He uses the pole as a lever, its base pressed against his hip, his arms guiding the long rising line. The wood slides through his left hand. The pole rises up. The small blue flame rises past the tenement windows, past the brickwork until it is level with the dark glass lantern. This is the second note, the offering. Now, precision. The street is silent, but he is listening. He moves the pole a fraction of an inch. He is aiming for the small iron lever, the pull that hangs just below the gas jet inside the glass. He cannot see it. He must feel it. He nudges the pole forward. He hears a faint metallic tink as the brass hook on his pole touches the ironwork. He adjusts. He probes. Snick. It is the smallest sound, but to him it is the sound of success. The hook has found the lever. He is connected. The liturgy continues. He pulls down a firm, steady, practiced weight. His body knows exactly how much force is needed. Not a jerk. A slow, even pull. The third note, the invocation. Sss. The sound is immediate. It is the sound of the city's breath, the gas being released into the mantle. For a split second, there is only the hiss and the tiny blue-white pilot flame. Then the fourth note, the benediction. It is a soft, muffled explosion. A sudden silent blossom of fire. The pale greenish-white gaslight flares into existence, a new sun in the darkness. It flashes, then settles into a steady, brilliant, unblinking glare. The world changes. A harsh, defined circle of light instantly appears on the street, centered on Arthur. His own shadow, long and stark, is thrown backward. The glistening, damp texture of the granite sets is revealed. A discarded bottle cap, invisible seconds before, now gleams like a silver coin. He holds the pole in place for a beat. 1, 2. He is watching the flame, ensuring it has caught properly, that the mantle is lit, that the gas pressure is steady. The light is good. The liturgy concludes. He pushes the pole up slightly, unhooking the brass clasp from the lever. He begins the descent, hand over hand. He lowers the pole, letting it slide through his glove. The pole comes down, the pilot flame descending from the sky, returning to his side. He pivots it back to the vertical, its base resting once more on the stone. The act is complete. He does not pause to admire it. He does not look back. The moment the pole is secure, his right foot takes the first step. 1, 2, 3. The cadence resumes. He is walking again. moving from the circle of light he has just created into the pool of darkness that separates him from the next unlit lamp. 4, 5, 6. Behind him, the lamp he just lit now performs its own function. Its light reveals a woman watching from a third-story window, her form a dark silhouette against her own candlelight. It reveals a pair of stray dogs, sniffing at a pile of refuse in a doorway. Arthur sees none of this. He is already focused on the next lamp. 13, 14, 15. He is halfway there. The rhythm is unbroken, but not every lamp is a perfect prayer. The liturgy allows for complications. He approaches the next lamp. 21, 22, 23. He stops. He plants his feet. He begins the climb. The pole ascends, up, up. He probes for the lever. Tink, tink. He cannot find it. He lowers the pole 2 inches and tries again. Snick. He has it. He pulls. Sss. He waits for the whoomph. It does not come. Only the hiss of the gas. The pilot light he sees has been extinguished. A sudden sharp gust of wind funneling between the tall buildings has snuffed it out. He has not failed. The liturgy has a response for this. He lowers the pole all the way down. He rests it against his shoulder. From his heavy belt pouch he produces the small tin matchbox. His fingers, numb with cold, struggle for a moment with the small metal clasp. He opens it. He extracts a single sulfur-tipped match. He strikes it on the rough, hobnailed sole of his own boot. Scratch. A flare of yellow light. A puff of acrid smoke. He carefully, protecting the small flame with his cupped hand, touches it to the pilot wick. The wick catches. The small blue-white flame is born again. He closes the matchbox. He returns it to the pouch.
He does not sigh.
He does not curse. He simply repeats. He plants his feet. He begins the climb. The pole ascends, up, up. The small flame rises. He finds the lever. Snick, he pulls. Shhoom. The light is born. He lowers the pole. He settles it into its carrying position. He takes his first step. 1, 2, 3. The cadence continues. The liturgy is restored. The rhythm, for a moment broken, is re-established, and he walks on, a solitary priest performing his quiet, physical, and profoundly necessary rites, one lamp at a time. The ledger's path has led Arthur deep into the city's labyrinth. He has completed the grand arteries of commerce, the respectable avenues of the wealthy, and the functional lanes of the workshops. Now his route takes him to the water. He turns a corner and the city, as a structure of brick and stone, seems to end. The street opens up onto a quay, a wide, flat expanse of granite that borders the river. The air is different here. It is no longer the contained, smoky, domestic air of the streets. This air is vast, cold, and heavy. It smells of the river itself. A deep, ancient smell of mud, damp stone, and something slightly metallic like rust. It carries within it the scent of the sea. Many miles distant, a faint, briny promise of a world larger than this one. And with the water comes the fog. It is not yet a true, thick fog, the kind that smothers the city in a blind yellow-gray blanket. This is a river fog, a miasmic fog, as the newspapers call it. It is a low, creeping mist that is born from the cold, dark water and spills over the quay. It is not a wall. It is a shroud, thin and spectral. It lies in wisps and currents, like underwater weeds tangling around the legs of the lampposts obscuring the ground. When Arthur walks, his hobnailed boots, clack, 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 sound different. The sharp percussive sound is instantly muffled. The fog absorbs it, deadens it. The echo he is used to in the narrow streets is gone. Here his footsteps sound close, intimate, and then immediately they are gone. He is no longer just a lamplighter. He is a watchman. He pulls the high velvet-lined collar of his greatcoat a little tighter. The damp of the fog is a physical thing. a cold, wet breath that seeks to penetrate his layers of wool. He can feel it condensing on his eyebrows, on the rough texture of his coat. He proceeds. The lamps here are tall, set wide apart, designed to throw their light as far as possible for the ships that might be mooring. They are heavy iron things, greened with verdigris and stained with river salt. He stops at the first lamp on the quay. He plants his feet. He begins the liturgy. The pole ascends, up the small, blue-white pilot flame seems to float, detached in the swirling mist. A small star in its own private nebula. He finds the lever. Snick. He pulls. Sss. Hump. The gaslight blossoms. But here the light is not the same. It does not create a crisp, sharp circle of illumination. The fog transforms it. The light becomes a diffuse, hazy, spectral dome. It is a pearlescent, glowing cloud, a beacon for no one. The light does not cut through the fog. It is captured by it. The mist itself seems to glow, particles of water made luminous. The light does not illuminate the ground. It simply creates an area of light, a soft, ghostly presence. Arthur lowers his pole. He stands in this new, hazy dome. He is, for a moment, the only solid thing in a world of diffusion. He can see the mist swirling around his boots lit from above. He consults his ledger. River Quay, 18 lamps. He makes his first check mark. The graphite of the pencil feels slightly damp. The paper of the ledger is no longer stiff. It is pliable, softened by the wet air. He begins the walk to the next lamp. He steps out of the glowing dome of light and into the profound, damp darkness that separates it from the next. His world shrinks to what is immediately around him. The sights of his route are no longer of shop windows or curtained homes. The sights here are of absence, of texture. He can see the massive granite blocks of the quay, slick with a fine, greasy film of river damp. He can see the dark rectangular voids that are the warehouse doors, their heavy iron shutters bolted fast. He can see to his left the river itself. Or rather, he senses it. He cannot see the other bank. He cannot even see the water, really. He sees a vast moving blackness, a void that seems to breathe. The fog is thickest over the water, a solid-looking bank of gray, and he hears. In the absence of the city's daytime clatter, the night has a voice. He hears the river. It is not a rushing sound. It is a slow, heavy lapping sound. The sound of deep, cold water pulling at the weed-slicked stone foundations of the quay. A sloop, sloop, followed by a pause and then a suck and a gurgle as the water finds a crack in the stones. He hears the ships. Far out in the dark, moored in the channel, are the great merchant ships and the barges. He cannot see them, but he hears their sounds, and these sounds travel strangely over the water, amplified by the fog. He hears the creak of a mooring rope, a long groaning violin note as a heavy hull strains against its tether. He hears the sudden, lonely metallic clang of a bell struck once on a ship he cannot see. The sound is sharp and then instantly deadened, as if the fog had swallowed it. He hears nothing. Long stretches of pure, profound, damp silence, broken only by his own steady clack, clack. Clack on the stone. He approaches the second lamp. He stops. He raises the pole. Up, up. He is a dark silhouette against the glowing mist of the lamp he just lit. He finds the lever. Snick, hiss, whoomp. A second glowing dome is born. He moves on, walking from one ghostly pool of light to the next. He is connecting the dots, creating a string of pearls, a guide path of hazy light along the dark, invisible water. His route is a solitary one. He is essentially alone. But the city is never truly empty. His route is one of an observer, a watchman who sees the city in its off hours. In the hazy light of the fourth lamp, he sees a shape. It is a pile of something. Ropes, perhaps, or discarded crates. He is used to such things. He is paid to light the lamps, not to question the cargo. He walks. 1, 2, 3. As he passes the pile, the light of his own pilot flame and the new light from the lamp catches the texture. It is not rope. It is a mound of damp bundled rags, and the rags move. A head lifts. A man buried under a pile of cast-off sacking to keep the damp out rouses himself. Arthur sees a pale, bearded face, 2 dark eyes blinking in the sudden, unexpected cold glare of the gaslight. Arthur does not stop. He does not speak. The man does not speak. This is the unwritten rule of the night. They are 2 different species of night dweller. Arthur is an official, a functionary, a man with a ledger. The other man is a piece of the city's detritus, a man with no ledger, no route. Arthur keeps walking. Clack, clack, clack. His pace does not change. He does not look back. He has seen the man. The man has seen him. There is nothing to say. He is a watchman. He has observed. He will not report it. It is not what the ledger asks of him. He continues his walk down the quay. The fog is thickening. The small blue-white pilot flame on his pole now sputters. The damp is getting into the mechanism. He stops at the 5th lamp. He pauses. He holds his pole horizontally and blows gently on the pilot flame, feeding it, coaxing it. The flame flickers, shrinks to a tiny blue bead, and then, as he hopes, catches hold again, burning steady. He begins the liturgy. The climb, up, up. As he raises the pole, a new sound joins the lapping water and the creaking ropes. It is a shout. It is distant, coming from downriver. Oi! Who oi? The voice is high, thin, and desperate. It is immediately swallowed by the fog. It is a sailor perhaps lost in a rowboat trying to find his ship. Or a drunk shouting at the river. Arthur does not call back. It is not his job. His job is the light, snick, hiss, whoomp. The 5th lamp blossoms, its light adding another hazy pearl to the string. Perhaps the light will guide the shouter, perhaps not. His task is to light the lamp. What happens in the light is not his concern. He lowers the pole. He turns, he continues his walk. The fog is his constant companion. It is his adversary, in that it snuffs his pilot light, but it is also his landscape. He has learned to read it. He can tell by the way it swirls at a street corner that a carriage has just passed, its movement disturbing the air. He can tell by the way it clings to a building that the wall is colder, wetter, that it faces north. He is a watchman of the fog. His solitary route is a passage through a city that has been erased, rendered in shades of gray, black, and the pale, cold, greenish white of his own gas flame. He finishes the quay. 18 lamps. 18 glowing domes suspended in the mist. He pulls out his ledger, finds a dry spot on his coat to wipe his pencil, and makes the 18 check marks. He turns his back to the river, to the fog, to the lapping water and the distant, shouting men. The ledger, his map, now calls him inland, back into the narrow brick canyons. He steps off the quay and into a narrow lane, and the sounds of the city change again. The fog is less thick here, but the silence is deeper. His footsteps are now sharp, echoing clack, clack, clack. A solitary, rhythmic human sound proving that he is still there. The ledger's path is a circuit, a closed loop. It is a snake eating its own tail. It begins at the depot, and hours later it must end at the depot. Arthur has walked from the river, leaving the spectral domes of light hanging in the fog. He has moved back inland, his route taking him through the last, poorest, and darkest parts of his territory. He has navigated the D list. These are the tenements, the alleys behind the slaughterhouses, the streets so narrow that a cart can barely pass. Here the lamps are few, the gas pressure is low, and the light is a sickly, weak yellow. The hierarchy of the ledger is clear. These places are an afterthought, lit last of all, more to fulfill a contract than to provide comfort. His boots are heavy, not just with their own weight, but with the accumulated damp and fatigue. The wool of his greatcoat is saturated with the night's mist, and the garment, which began as a comfort, now feels like a cold, heavy shroud. The dull ache in his shoulder has become a steady, throbbing presence, but the rhythm continues. Clack, clack, clack. It is slower now, more deliberate. Each step is an effort, but an automatic one. His route has led him back finally to Market Alley, the same alley he walked through hours ago to begin his journey. It is a different place now. It is no longer the gloaming, the in-between time. It is the deep, cold, absolute heart of the night. It is 3 o'clock in the morning. The city is not just quiet. It is asleep. This is not the expectant hush of the evening, but the profound, almost breathless silence of a world suspended. The only sounds are his own. He stops. He is at the entrance to the alley. He has one last page in his ledger. Market Alley 4 lamps, the ones he ignored on his way out. He turns into the narrow passage. The air is still, trapped between the high brick walls. He lifts his pole. The movement is stiff. His muscles protest, but they obey. Up, up. He is lighting the lamp that is directly opposite the depot door. The simple iron bracket lamp, snick, hiss, whoomp. The sudden light is harsh, almost violent in the enclosed space. It illuminates the depot door, the flaking paint, the rusty locker he left hours ago. It illuminates the end of his journey. He lights the other 3 lamps in the alley, his movements almost robotic. He is a machine running on its last fumes of fuel. Lift, probe, pull, light, lower, walk. He stands at the far end of the alley, having lit the 4th and final lamp. His work in the city is done. Every street on his map is lit. Every required pool of light has been established. He pulls out the ledger. His fingers, stiff and numb inside his wool mitts, fumble with the cover. He opens it to the last page. The paper is limp, almost like a damp cloth. He makes the final 4 check marks. He turns the page. The next page is blank. He stands for a moment in the light of the last lamp and looks at the blank page. It is a void. It is the end of the instruction. It is for him the most profound signal of peace. The last page has been turned. His duty is not quite complete. The circuit has 2 final steps: the extinguishing of the pilot and the return to the depot. He lowers his pole. He looks at the small caged flame, the blue-white star that has been his companion all night. It has sputtered in the fog, it has been blown out by the wind, but he has tended it, and it has survived. He unhooks the small brass clasp of the cage. He blows on it. Not a gentle breath to coax it, but a sharp, definitive puff. The flame vanishes. The hissing of the naphtha burner stops. The sudden absence of his one personal light is startling. He is now just a man, standing in the municipal light he himself has created. The top of his pole is dark, just a piece of cold brass. He turns. He walks back down the alley, his footsteps the only sound. Clack, clack, clack. He arrives at the depot door. He pulls the heavy iron key from his pocket. It is cold. The lock is stiff, resistant. He jiggles the key, a familiar trick, and the tumblers finally turn with a low, grinding scrunch. He pushes the door. The hinge groans, a sound of protest at being woken. He steps inside. The darkness is absolute. It is a physical weight, a blackness thicker and deeper than the fog. It smells of the unlit gas jet, of damp brick, of his own cold locker. He steps in, and for a moment he is blind. He stands, letting his eyes adjust. He is in the void. He pulls the door shut behind him. The sound is a heavy, final thud. The city is locked out. He has left its sounds, its fog, its sleeping citizens. He is in his small, cold safe box. He fumbles for the matchbox in his pouch. His fingers are too numb. He pulls off his mitts, stuffing them in his pocket. His bare skin exposed to the cold stings. He finds the box. He strikes a match. Scratch. The sudden yellow flare is blinding. It throws huge, dancing, monstrous shadows on the walls. He lifts his hand to the gas jet on the wall, the one he extinguished hours ago. He turns the brass key. Hiss. He touches the match. Humph. The small, fishtail flame springs to life, hissing, casting its weak, steady, familiar light. He is back. The first act is to shed the tools. He places the long, dark pole in its rack. Its work is done. He unbuckles the heavy leather tool pouch and places it with a satisfying thud on the workbench. The second act is to update the ledger. This is the most critical part, after the lighting itself. He pulls the small three-legged stool to the workbench. He sits. The simple act of sitting, of taking the weight off his feet, is a moment of profound, almost painful relief. A groan escapes him, not of pain but of release. He lays the damp ledger on the workbench, opening it under the gaslight. He retrieves a different book, the Master Ledger, a much larger, drier, and more official-looking volume. With his small pencil, he goes page by page, transferring his check marks. But he is not just copying. He is reporting. On page 3, King's Muse, he finds his small X by lamp number 2. In the margin of the master ledger, he writes in a slow, careful, cramped hand, King's Muse number 2, mantle broken. No light. On page 7, River Key, he notes lamp number 14, gas jet clogged. Low flame, he is a watchman, and this is his report. He is the city's eyes, noting the small failures, the entropy, the slow decay of the system he is paid to maintain. He is not paid to fix them. He is paid to note them. Tomorrow, a different man, a day man, a man of tools and wrenches, will read his notes and follow his path, fixing what he has found. His report is finished. He closes the master ledger. He closes his own damp personal ledger and places it on the shelf, ready for the next night. The final act is to shed the uniform. He stands, his legs stiff. He unfastens the heavy leather-wrapped buttons of the greatcoat. Each one is a small battle, his fingers cold and clumsy. The coat, heavy with damp, slides from his shoulders. He hangs it on its peg where it will slowly drip and steam, ready for the evening to come. He unbuttons the tunic. He unbuttons the heavy trousers which slump to the floor. He steps out of them. He sits and with a grunt pulls off the heavy hobnailed boots. The thud as they hit the floor is a sound of finality. He is Arthur Pendleton again. He is a man in his shirt sleeves and thin day trousers, shivering in a small cold room lit by a single hissing gas jet. He takes his own thin tweed jacket from the stool. He puts it on. It feels impossibly light, like a spider's web. He puts on his soft day boots. He is ready. He looks at the clock on the church tower, visible through the alley's end if he cranes his neck. It is 3:30. His work is done. The lamplighter's shift is over, but a new and opposite work is about to begin. As he turns to lock the depot, he pauses. He looks down the alley, past the lamp he lit, toward the wider city. The air is changing. The deep, heavy black of the sky is thinning. At the very end of the street, far to the east, the solid, oppressive gray of the buildings is being etched, defined by a new, impossibly faint, cold, blue light. It is not a light he has made. It is not gaslight. It is the dawn. A new functionary, the sun, is beginning its own route. And a different kind of worker, the extinguisher, will soon walk Arthur's same path, but in reverse. He will carry a different pole, a snuffer, and his job will be to put out the lights, to turn the gas off, to reclaim the city for the day. Arthur's work, the bringing of the light, is always temporary. It is a holding action, A brief 4-hour ritual to assert order before the night ends and his work is undone, erased by the morning. He feels a profound sense of completion. The last page is turned. The circuit is closed. The city is sleeping under the lights he provided. And now he can sleep too. He pulls the depot door shut. The click of the lock is the final punctuation mark. He turns and walks away, his footsteps now a soft scuff on the stones. Just another man heading home as the first gray promise of the morning begins its slow, inevitable climb.